So, hi Bob.
Hello.
Mr. Bob Coover. We are here at the Groove Synthesis suite in the Marriott Hotel at NAMM 2022. And we're looking at the third wave, right?
We're looking at the third wave synthesizer, Advanced Wavetable Synth, and it is our first product with Groove Synthesis. And it will, well, I'm going to explain in just a moment here. Do you want me to go into the explanation?
Sure, let's do it.
Okay, so this is a modern take on what I would have imagined would have happened if PPG and Mr. Palm's brilliant company would have stayed in business. This would have been the third wave, as we call it. And what it's got in it is a wavetable oscillator that will do exactly what the original PPG did, right down to the whole processing chain. And then it will also do a modern day wavetable synthesizer that samples at 96 kilohertz, that's anti-aliased, all of that stuff. And then we've also got a spline interpolated analog synthesizer in here as well, as far as a model. Of course, it's got 24 analog filters, the SSI 2040, yep. And then everything else, like I said, that would have been in the PPG is there. We've got a much more fulfilled interface, if you will. And it's got 3 oscillators. So the typical thing with the PPG that you see over here is that the 2.2 or the 2.3 referred to 2 oscillators, and of course his version. This is 3, so we're calling it third wave. And these 3 oscillators will do those 3 different modes that I was talking about. So I'm going to play you first because that's one of the questions we keep getting from everybody. How close does it sound to a PPG? Well, I think it's dead on to a PPG, and we'll start with a PPG patch between these two, but then I'm going to go through the other modes on the oscillators and show you what that's all about.
Yeah, excellent. Let's do it.
So, all right, so here we are, and that is right. So there's your PPG. See what it does with the PPG, and again, it's got that high sample rate. Mr. Palm divided the clock with a, I believe it was a 386 processor, and then no interpolation and all of the things that he did to make that PPG work in the first place, which was brilliant. That is all in here for this particular mode. We also have, if you look here, we've got a wave flow button, and that turns off the interpolation for the wavetable and also interpolation off or on for the pitch that you're going through on the keyboard. And then we've also got, in this case, because it's a PPG patch, use the upper wavetable. So what the PPG would do, because they did not have wraparound or anything like that, is they would actually, if you got at the top of your 64 position wavetable and you were going to spill out due to modulation, he would jump to what he called the upper wavetable. That's in here as well. So that's mode 1, and that's really great. So if you want it to sound just like a PPG, you're covered. But it goes much beyond that, and that's the point. So now if I switch this exact patch, or actually we'll go to one that doesn't have the pitch bend on it. Okay, so here's another factory patch from the PPG. You guys have probably heard that before if you own a PPG, but what I'm going to do now is I'm going to change these wavetables to what we call the user wavetables. So now you're going to see me up here in U, and I've got one called Drew's Wave, and we'll put one here on Random Walks, or actually here, Metal Sweep, and then we will, but these user wavetables that I'm dialing up, as I'm dialing these up, these are 96 kilohertz oversampled wavetables that are anti-aliased across the area. So same patch that you just heard, and no aliasing there, right? All the way up to the top. So those are ones, you've got 64 of those in the synthesizer, and you can replace those at will, and we'll show you a little later how to make your own on the fly. That's one of the cool things about this, is if you have to make your own wavetables, you're at it for at least an hour at a minimum, trying to figure out the splice points and what have you. This has got a machine learning loss function in it that will do it for you. So we'll show you that in a little bit. So that's mode number 2. Then mode number 3, I'm going to switch over here to a analog patch. Let's see, there we go. This is nothing but, if you look at the wavetables here, this is nothing but sawtooth for all 3 wavetables. So sawtooth, sawtooth, and sawtooth. And that is your spline interpolated analog model. And I'll go up an octave. So that should sound very familiar to you as a sawtooth type of a patch. And that's also anti-aliased all the way up. Again, this goes out into a low-pass filter, and I've got to turn both of these on for editing. So what you're hearing right now is a stereo patch. And there's your low-pass filter. And it's also got a state variable filter following that up. Or actually, I should say before it in series. So you've got a state variable filter, and then you go into the low-pass filter. That's the analog, and then out you go. Now, it's also got, what you're hearing here is a stereo patch. It's 4-part multitimbral. So it's 4-part multitimbral. You can have those separate. You can run it like I'm running it here in a binaural mode, if you will, where we've got the same patch in the left and the right channel with slight differences. And then you can also run it as a stack or a split, whatever you want. It's 24 voices, so if you're doing this and you've got a stack with 4 items going, which I'll show you a patch with that going in a moment, you're still a 6-voice synthesizer, even if you want a layer that big. So, go ahead. I'm gonna send it back to you, Ed.
So, in terms of, obviously, we've got like extended range with the wavetables and things like that. What other kind of features are there that are different to the original PPG? We've obviously got a sequencer and arpeggiator in here. How does that kind of differ? And yeah.
Yeah, and we're gonna have somebody demonstrate that for you in a moment, Mattia. But what we've got here, so again, we've got 3 oscillators, 3 different modes. You've also got, because this is a wavetable, so I'm going to go back to one of the wavetable patches. Here we go. Let's see. So this is a wavetable patch that has nothing to do with the PPG. But what I'm showing you here is you've got a linear wave envelope, which was not, of course, in the original PPG. The linear wave envelope gives you 6 points in a linear line that tells you what position in the wavetable you want to go to, and then what that time in between each one of them is. So you've got that. In addition, you've got, I'm going to go left to right, we've got modulation. You've got 16 modulation sources. So if I hit source here, you'll see the mod matrix, and these are your 16 sources. Then you've got fixed sources. You've got 4 LFOs. That, of course, was not in the original PPG, and that is right here. So you've got 4 low-frequency oscillators that are at your will to whatever you want to do with them. You've got the 2 filters. So, of course, the PPG had the 4th order, as it will, as I say in DSP terms, the 4th order low-pass filter, but this also has the SEM style state variable filter. And then it's got the sequencer. The sequencer in this case is a pattern-based sequencer. So it's not a step bass. This is more like what you'd get in an Akai MPC or something like that, or a drum machine. You're doing a pattern and you're stringing patterns together to make a song. That, of course, is also 4-track because it's four-part multi-timbral, and definitely goes well beyond what your average synthesizer or what the PPG would have done. Over here in the envelope section and what have you, we've got banks and programs, of course, which is 500 patches total. So you've got 500 patches at your disposal. You've got a normal filter envelope, your amp envelope, but then you go over here and you've got 2 other envelopes at your disposal. So those are both ADSRs as well, and that goes envelope 3, envelope 4. You've got an arpeggiator, and then, of course, the original PPG didn't have any effects on it. You've got 2 sets of effects. So we've got the effects here, Bucket Brigade, et cetera, all the way out to Leslie speaker. And then if you go to the second one, we've also got Superplate and various reverb algorithms, and also an Echoplex model, which goes right down to head alignment and record level if you want to get really wild. So that is all in here, and that is all different than what the original would have had.
Yeah.
Yeah.
With the envelopes, can we do any like looping or anything like that?
Yeah, so I'm going to come all the way back to the wave envelope. And the wave envelope, you can see here there's a blue and a red. So if I go over to values, you'll see in the miscellaneous, loop on. So we can loop, and it tells you what your loop start point is and what your loop end point is. And this is also assignable. So it doesn't have to go to the wavetables, but it can.
Okay,
Yes.
so you can access it in the matrix, and it can go anywhere. Excellent.
You've got a wave surfer. The wave surfer, if you take a patch, let's see, I think I've got, Mark's got a patch here that has got a static waveform and a additional, so I'm going to turn the wave envelope off, and I'm just going to slide this guy. So if I play this, through those wavetables as we go. What the Wave Surfer does is that's a dedicated knob that will actually access all 3 oscillators if they're running in a mode that has a wavetable, and sweep through those wavetables at will. We've also got the mod wheel is usually set up by default to do the same thing, but you can of course assign that to do whatever you want. So all of these things are new and different.
So how close is it to kind of being ready? Is this a kind of final production model? Where are we?
Yeah, this is very close. We've got several of these out in the field already. Mattia is using one at his studio. We've got about 10 units out in the field that are already doing TV episodes and other things. So this is very close. I would say it's 98% there. We've got 2 features that are not 100% complete yet, the sequencer and the wavetable maker. That will be complete, and then we're going to ship everything by mid-August at the latest.
Excellent.
And it might actually ship earlier, so there you go.
And do we have a kind of final price on that?
The final price is $37.95, and that is...
Wow, that's really reasonable.
Yeah, I was going to say, that, in my humble opinion, is a real bargain for what you're getting. You're getting 24 voices, so you're essentially getting 4 synthesizers that are 6 voice each in this, with all the analog filters and all of that. So it is hard for us to hold that price point. We're going to see how long we can hold it, but the initial run that we're taking pre-orders on now, that's all going to go at $37.95.
Brilliant. What's your background, Bob, for people who don't know?
Right. Yes.
Why have you made this kind of homage to the PPG?
I love what Mr. Palm did. I used to own one of these PPGs back in the early 90s when they became affordable. Now they're not affordable again, but when they were affordable for a little while, I had one. And I also love it from a DSP and a lack of DSP standpoint. It does imaging, which makes it growl at that low end, rather than aliasing, which most people say. And it's just a great sound that you only get given the way and the challenges that Mr. Palm had to face to make the thing in the first place. Now, who in the world am I? Why am I doing this? Oh, and I don't have my badge on. So I've worked with Dave Smith for the last 10 years, and that is very, very sad that he just passed on, so I'm not going to get into that, or I might get choked up here. But anyway, I joined his team in 2012 and did his Prophet 12, and have been doing DSP for Sequential ever since. I don't work there full time. I'm a contractor for them, but I do Dave's DSP. And you'll see later today, Mr. Oberheim is here, which is fabulous.
I think we might even be shooting a video with him right this second.
Yes, okay, so that's great. You'll see Mr. Oberheim. For that product, of course, that's all analog, but I did the envelopes for that product.
Excellent.
We love you, Mr. Oberheim. And we miss you, Dave. Anyway, so that's my background as far as that goes. Then I also worked at DigiDesign, which is now, of course, Avid Pro Tools. So worked with Chris Townsend. The two of us did the 11 product, which was the amp modeling, and then did their elastic audio algorithms, so their pitch and time. Worked at Grace Note doing an audio fingerprint for them that competes with Shazam. And now my day job is at Apple. So, but that's myself. We've got another couple of people on the team that also have a lot of experience with Sequential. We've got my co-conspirator, as I call him, Andrew, who's out on the floor, who you will meet later. He's doing all of the embedded programming for us and a lot of what the UI is that you're seeing here, plus the sequencer. And then we've got Kevin, also from Grace Note, where we all worked doing the hardware. And then we've got another gentleman, Ross Wilcox, doing the beautiful metal work, not medical, that you're seeing here. And we tried, Ross and I tried to get this as close as we could to an homage to the PPG, but not exactly like the PPG. I love blue. And what you're seeing here in the metal work is the buttons are very similar to that PPG that you see sitting next to you. Same with the knobs. We've got a two-stage powder coat, actually, on the paint job. So it's a silver with a transparent blue right over the top of it, and that should last you many, many years to come. Yeah, the idea, again, was something that paid tribute to the PPG, but was not something that looked exactly like it. So.
Excellent. So you're going to pass off to Matthias now.
Yes. This is Mattia. Mattia, yeah. He is one of our fabulous sound designers, and he's also been using the third wave at his studio to actually produce tracks for the last 3-4 months. Yeah.
A little longer, yeah. It was something like 4 months, yeah.
Yeah. So he is one of the users in the field that is already making music with it.
So hi, Mattia.
How's it going?
We're going to look at some more sounds of the third wave, right?
Yeah, we're going to show you a couple of the sounds that I've programmed on it. I've been working on it for the last couple of months, and I'll go through a couple of the patches, talk a little bit about it too as well. So this is one of them. This is a 3-part patch. So. And so what's very cool about this and some of these sounds is that there is like a feeling of something very classic, but also something very modern. And that's what's really, really unique about this synth, is that it evokes a feeling of the past and of kind of the legacy of the PPG, but at the same time, it pushes things forward and has a very interesting tonality. And go through a couple other sounds that have that kind of vibe to it. I mean, this is something, you know. Choir. Let's go to, okay. My favorite stuff on this was some of the sequencer-oriented patches, because you can do quite a bit with that. So there's a lot of very sophisticated sequencing that you can do on this because you have 4 parts to work with and because it's a 4-part sequencer. And it leads to, and it's not a hard sequencer to work. In fact, I'm going to pull up a sound where we could play with that. Turn off some of the effects. There we go. Clear that. Very, very quick sequencer to work with, and it's very great for picking up riffs and things like that, starting song ideas, just very easy to work with. Go through some more of the sounds. This is a nice one.
So are the effects routed per kind of part, or are they
Per part.
Right,
Yeah,
okay.
per part. And that's the other thing about it is that you can sort of be picky about what you're putting on. You know, you don't have to cake everything on effect because it just sounds good, but then you might have some things where you need a very time delay like this patch, you know. So that main line has a very specific delay to it, but the rest of it, some of these sounds are very dry. And again, that's the wonderful thing about this synth is that it's up to you how you want to route things. It's up to you what effects you use, when you don't use them. Because you have 4 parts to work with too, you could set up a patch that is dry, not affected, but is a stereo, a true stereo patch on the first 2 parts, and then you've got still 2 more parts to work with and plenty of voices to do it with. So that's really great. Again, you have velocity and aftertouch on the keyboard as well. It's a really nice guitar key bed, so it feels very, very nice to play. This is a nice patch too. And the bass sounds great on it as well.
Brilliant. So you're going to pass back over to Bob now.
I'm going to pass over back to Bob so he can show you the Wavemaker.
So Bob, you're going to show us how easy it is to create your own wavetables, right?
Yeah. So what we're going to do is we're going to go through the Wavemaker, and this allows you to take in either audio from the input jack on the rear. You can actually record it into the machine, or we'll show you over here, you can take a 96 kilohertz wave file that you've created yourself, and you can drop it into the third wave. And what this will do is it will then take that wave file that you've got, analyze it with a machine learning loss function, and split it up for you so that you now have that wavetable made in roughly a minute as opposed to in roughly an hour or more if you've got to do it yourself. So let's show you a wave file over here.
So the third wave is just connected via USB, right?
Right now it's connected via USB. We're going to play you this wave file here, which is me saying groove synthesis.
Groove synthesis.
Okay, there you go. And we're going to drop that wave file, which you see right here, the groove synthesis wave, into the audio folder on the third wave. So the audio folder on the third wave now has groove synthesis wave in it. You've got audio, firmware, programs, or waves. This is all USB connection, and you can put any of these things in or out of the third wave. So over here on the third wave, we're now going to go to global, and there is a functionality here called read Wavemaker file. I'm going to hit that. You'll see it's an abbreviation of groove, which is what we just dropped in there, and I'm going to hit OK, and that's going to take us to the Make Waves window here. We're going to hit Make Wavetable. It's going to detect the pitch, and now it's searching for waveforms. So again, what it's doing is it's going to take and analyze where you've got differences in the frequency domain and the time domain that are appropriate to cut this thing up, to get it down to 64 single cycle waveforms, which make up what a wavetable is. And this will take us, I don't know, I think in this case, roughly 30 to 35 seconds, and it will complete here, and then we're going to put this on an init patch and show you what it sounds like. But it's much quicker, and here we go, we are complete. So now if I take an init patch, so I'm going to go back out here, and I'm going to initialize this. Right now we've got nothing going here but a init wavetable, right? It's not doing anything yet. So I'm going to take this, and I'm going to change the wavetable to the last position, and that's the wave that we just made, the wavetable. So all three oscillators are now playing that last wavetable. I'm going to go up to the wave envelope, and I'm going to make sure that we've got this doing the timing. So we're going to start down at the bottom where I said groove, and we're going to go up to the top of the groove synthesis here. I'm going to take the third position and bring it up so that we can hear the whole thing. And then if I hit it, with any luck, we've now got it saying groove synthesis. And it's very slow, so I'm going to speed that up. So, yep, and it's making it quicker and quicker. There we go. And you'll hear it also, when it's done, it's actually coming back down through this wavetable back down to 4. So you'll hear it play backwards as well. So if I let it just go, that's me saying it backwards, and it comes right back down. Now that is one wavetable. What we're going to do is now we're going to replace that real quick with a second wavetable here. So I'm going to bring this one, which is Fairlight 2X mode. This is one that Drew Newman made for us on his Fairlight, and if I play that, you're going to hear it. Okay, that's just a quick one there. I'm going to drop that in. I'm going to take out the groove synthesis one here, and we're going to delete it. All right, and we're going to put the Fairlight one in. There we go. And now we'll come back over here and we'll do the same thing again. So I'm going to go to global, and we're going to go to read Wavemaker file, and there you see F2X, so that's the Fairlight one that we just did. Hit OK again, and again we're going to hit Make Wavetable. So, go ahead.
So just whilst we're doing that, do you want to just talk about what the I/O is on the back of the instrument?
Sure, sure. So while this is calculating this for this particular wave file that we did, we've got 4 pairs of stereo outputs, one for each of the multi-part pieces that we've got. So you've got 4 stereo pairs of outputs. You've got, of course, your phone jack. If you're on one, like we are right now, everything shows up on that stereo pair. But you've got actually the ability to output on any of these. We've also got an input, and we've got, of course, the pedals. The input feeds right into the filters, and actually, we will eventually release an update. These will double as inputs. So we've actually got 4 inputs on the back. They're just not read that way, but those can actually, all 4 come back into the synthesizer as well. So then we've got, of course, your USB, which we're doing right now, and of course we've got MIDI. That's the usual stuff. So this is done. So now if we go back to that same location, we've got the wavetable, and now instead of it saying groove synthesis, it should sweep through this Fairlight wavetable. So let's see. Yep, and there it is. So that's what you were just hearing there. So you've now got yourself a wavetable while I was explaining the back of the output instead of sitting there having to splice it up by hand. And we're really excited with that because that just makes this so much simpler to use. And it makes it unique for any user. They can figure out what they want to put in this thing, put it in, and they're going to be the only guys with that, you know? So that's really cool.
Brilliant. Well, Bob, thank you very much. Just quickly again, just in case people did miss it, can you just give us a price and kind of release point again?
Yes, yeah. So it's going to be $37.95 US, and we are already complete with it, as you see here. We've just got the last 2 features, so we're going to have a ship date of August the 15th. We might be able to pull that in, but right now we're saying mid-August. So mid-August ship date, and yeah, that very good price for what you're getting as far as 24 voices, analog filters, et cetera, et cetera.
Brilliant. Well, Bob, thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you.